Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to solve questions from exercise 4.2 from chapter Quadratic Equations. Now in this exercise we have a total of 6 questions. So let us start with the first one now. Find the roots of the following quadratic equations by factorization. Now under this question we have 5 sub-questions. So the first sub-question is x square minus 3x minus 10 equal to 0. Now remember that the number of roots in a given equation will be equal to the highest power of x. Now here the highest power of x in this equation is 2. So we should be getting 2 values for x. Now let us focus on the factorization, and here I am going to use splitting the middle term method. So let us first understand what this method is. In this method we have to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant. So if there is no number with the coefficient of x square, we are going to default take it as 1. So 1 multiplies with negative 10, giving us negative 10. Now once we have got this value, we have to find 2 factors of negative 10 in such a way that when you multiply them, you should get negative 10, and when you add them or subtract them, you should get the middle term, that is negative 3. So the 2 factors we can think about here are negative 5 and 2. Because negative 5 times 2 gives us negative 10 and negative 5 plus 2 gives us negative 3. So here we are going to split up this middle term in terms of these 2 factors. So here we have written x square. Now minus 3x is being split up as negative 5x and positive 2x, that is in terms of its factors, and minus 10 equal to 0. Now once we have written this, we have to group the terms. So we are going to group the first 2 terms and we are going to group the last 2 terms. Now from the first group we can see that x is a common factor because x square can be written as x times x minus 5 times x. So here we can see that x is a common factor. So we are going to pull out this common factor from the first group. So we have written x times, in the bracket remains x minus 5, and from the second group we can write 2x as 2 times x, and negative 10 can be written as negative 2 times 5. Now we can see that 2 is a common factor from these 2 terms. So we have taken positive 2 outside the bracket, and inside the bracket remains x minus 5 equal to 0. Now there are 2 groups, as we can see. This is the first group and this is the second group. And from both these groups x minus 5 is a common factor. So we have taken it out, and inside the bracket remains x plus 2. So that becomes our second factor. So here we have got 2 factors, that is x plus 2 times x minus 5 equal to 0. Now the next step is equating each of these factors equal to 0. So here we have written x plus 2 equal to 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0. Now taking positive 2 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the first value of x, that is x equal to negative 2. And taking negative 5 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the second value of x, that is x equal to positive 5. So these are the 2 values of x, that is negative 2 and positive 5. Now the next question is 2x square plus x minus 6 equal to 0. So our step number 1 is multiplying the coefficient of x square with the constant. So here 2 times negative 6 gives us negative 12. Now we have to get the factors of negative 12 in such a way that when you multiply them you should get negative 12, and when you add them or subtract them you should get the middle term, that is positive 1. So the 2 factors we have already got it over here, that is 4 and negative 3, because when you multiply 4 with negative 3 you get negative 12, and when you subtract 3 from 4, that is 4 minus 3, it gives you positive 1. So here our 2 factors are going to be 4 and negative 3. So here we have written 2x square. Now positive 1x gets split up as positive 4x and negative 3x minus 6 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms, that is we are going to group the first 2 terms and we are going to group the last 2 terms. Now from the first 2 terms we can write 2x square as 2 times x times x. Now 4x can be written as 2 times x. So here we can see that 2 is a common factor from these 2 terms and x is also a common factor. So here we have pulled out 2x as a common factor, and inside the bracket remains x plus Now the second group can be written as negative 3 times x minus 6 can be written as 3 times 2. Now here negative 3 is a common factor, as we can see. So we have pulled out negative 3 as a common factor, and inside the bracket remains x. Now when you take the negative 3 outside, we are left with a positive sign. So inside the bracket we get x plus 2 equal to 0. Now here we are left with two terms, and x plus 2 is a common factor in these two terms. So we have pulled it out and written the x plus 2 over here. And the remaining terms, that is 2x minus 3, becomes the second factor. So the two factors which we get over here are 2x minus 3 times x plus 2 equal to 0. Now in the next step we are going to equate each of these factors equal to 0. So here we have written 2x minus 3 equal to 0 and x plus 2 equal to 0. Now for the first factor we are going to take negative 3 on the other side of equal to sign. So it becomes positive 3, that is 2x equal to positive 3. Now in the next step we are going to take this 2 on the other side of equal to sign. So we get the value of x as 3 over 2, that is 2 divides 3. So this is the first value of x. Now over here for the second factor, we are going to take positive 2 on the other side of equal to sign. So we get the second value of x as negative 2. That is positive 2 becomes negative 2 when we take on the other side of equal to sign. So the two values of x over here are negative 2 and 3 over 2. Square root of 2x square plus 7x plus 5 square root 2 is equal to 0. Now the first step is multiplication of the coefficient of x square with the constant. So square root of 2 times 5 square root of 2 will be equal to. Now here remember the laws of radicals or laws of surds. One of the important laws of radicals is square root of a, for example, times square root of a. That will be equal to just a. So here if we see square root of 2 and square root of 2, it is similar to the law we have written here. So it is going to be just 2 times 5. So the square root will disappear. So here we get 2 times 5 equal to 10. So now we have to find out the factors of 10 in such a way that when you multiply them, you should get back 10. And when you add them, you should get the middle term, that is 7. So here we have written the two factors as 2 and 5. Because 2 times 5 gives us 10. And 2 plus 5, when you add these two factors, you get the middle term, which is 7. So let us now write this equation in terms of its factors. So the first term remains the same, that is square root of 2 times x square plus 7x now splits up as 2x plus 5x plus 5 square root of 2 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms. We are going to group the first two terms and we are going to group the last two terms. Now in the first group, the first term we have written the same, that is square root of 2 times x square plus, now since we have to find out the common factor, using the laws of radicals, we can write this 2 as square root of 2 times square root of 2. So remember that square root of a times square root of a will be equal to a and vice versa. That is a can be written as square root of a times square root of a. So this is what we have applied over here. So 2 is been written as square root of 2 times square root of 2 times x plus 5x plus 5 root 2 equal to 0. Now in this first group, we can see that square root of 2 and x is a common factor. So we have pulled out square root of 2 times x and inside the bracket remains 1x stays back from the first term. So that is over here plus now from the second term another square root 2 remains. So inside the bracket we have x plus square root of 2 plus from the second group we can see that 5 is a common factor. So we have pulled it out and inside the bracket remains x plus square root of 2 equal to 0. Now these are two terms and from these two terms we can see that x plus square root of 2 is a common factor. So we have taken it out and the other factor remaining becomes square root of 2x plus 5. Now once we have got the two factors, let us equate each of the factor equal to 0. So square root of 2x plus 5 equal to 0. Taking plus 5 on the other side of equal to sign, we get square root of 2x equal to negative 5. Now square root of 2 goes on the other side of equal to sign and divides negative 5, giving us the first value of x as negative 5 over square root of 2. Now for the second factor, we have written x plus square root of 2 equal to 0. Now taking positive square root of 2 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the second value of x as negative square root of 2. So these are the two values of x. 2x square minus x plus 1 over 8 equal to 0. Now here we can see that there is a fraction. So our step number 1 will be to get rid of this fraction. So here, since we have 8 in the denominator, let us write 2x square and minus x as 2x square over 1 and minus x over 1. Now we are going to multiply this denominator 8 with the numerator and the denominator. So here we get 2x square times 8 and 1 times 8. And the same thing we are going to do with negative x. We are going to multiply negative x by 8 and 1 also by 8. So this equation becomes 2 times 8 is 16. So the first term now becomes 16x square minus 8 times x gives us minus 8x plus 1. Now the entire numerator gets divided by 8 because we have a common denominator now, that is 8, equal to 0. Now we are going to send this denominator on the other side of equal to sign. So 8 multiplies with 0, giving us 16x square minus 8x plus 1 equal to 0. So we have got rid of the denominator. Now once we have got this equation, let us begin with the factorization. That is, we are going to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant. So 16 times 1 gives us 16. Now we have to find out two factors of 16 in such a way that when you multiply them you should get 16, and when you add them or subtract them you have to get the middle term, that is negative 8. So here the two factors we have already written. They are going to be negative 4 and negative 4, because negative 4 times negative 4 gives us positive 16, and negative 4 added with negative 4, that becomes negative 4, plus with a minus is minus. So minus 4 when you add them together it gives us negative 8. So here this equation changes as 16x square. Now negative 8x splits up as negative 4x and negative 4x plus 1 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms. We are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. Now from the first group, the 16x square can be written as 4 times x and minus 4x can be written as minus 4 times x. So we can see that 4 and x is a common factor from both the terms. So here we are going to pull out 4x, and inside the bracket remains the 4x from the first term minus, now since 4x is gone, the factor remaining over here is 1. So here inside the bracket we get 4x minus 1. So here we have written 4x times 4x minus 1. Now from the second group we are going to take negative 1 as a common factor. So when negative sign is taken out from the 4x, it becomes positive 4x, and positive 1 becomes negative 1. So here we have written negative 1 times 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now keep in your mind that when we are taking out the common factors, the terms which we get inside the bracket should be same along with the signs. So in all the questions which we solve, you're going to observe that these bracket terms will be always same. So if you're getting different terms, you have to be careful and you have to recheck your steps, because probably you have chosen the wrong factors. So once we have got this equation equal to 0, let us pull out 4x minus 1 and 4x minus 1 from these two terms. So we get 4x minus 1, and the remaining terms become 4x minus 1 equal to 0. Now in the next step we are going to equate each of these factors equal to 0. So we get 4x minus 1 equal to 0 and 4x minus 1 equal to 0. Now taking negative 1 on the other side of equal to sign, we get 4x is equal to positive 1. Now taking 4 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as 1 over 4. Now we are going to follow the same steps because here we can see the factors are same. So we have two values of x here which are same. That is x equal to 1 over 4 and x equal to 1 over 4. 100x square minus 20x plus 1 equal to 0. Now here let us begin with the factorization. So we are going to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant. So 100 times 1 is equal to 100. Now we have to find out the factors of 100 in such a way that when you multiply them you should get 100, and when you add them or subtract them you should get the middle term which is negative 20. So the two factors we have chosen here are negative 10 and negative 10, because negative 10 times negative 10 we get a positive 100, and negative 10 when you add it with negative 10 we get negative 10 plus with a minus gives us minus, that is minus 10. So minus 10 and minus 10, they add up together to give us minus 20. So this equation now becomes 100x square minus 10x plus 1 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms. That is, we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. Now from the first group, 100x square can be written as 10 times 10. That is 10 times 10 gives us 100. And x square can be written as x times x minus 10x can be written as 10 times x. So here we can see that 10x is a common factor from both the terms. So we are going to take it out, and inside the bracket remains 10x minus, since we have pulled out 10x, we are going to have 1 over here. So inside the bracket we have 10x minus 1. So here we have written 10x times 10x minus 1. Now from the second group we are going to take negative 1 outside the bracket, and inside the bracket we get positive 10x. This positive 1 now becomes negative 1 equal to 0. Now we have two terms over here. So we are going to pull out the common factor, that is 10x minus 1. So that becomes our first factor. Now once we have taken 10x minus 1 outside, the remaining terms are 10x minus 1. So that becomes our second factor, and the product of these two factors will be equal to 0. Now in the next step we are going to equate each of the factors equal to 0, giving us 10x minus 1 equal to 0. Taking negative 1 on the other side of equal to sign, we get 10x equal to positive 1. Now taking 10 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as 1 over 10. The same steps will follow for this factor as well, because both the factors are same. So here again we got the same value of x as 1 over 10 and 1 over 10. So this is our answer. Solve the problems given in example 1. Now this is under your worked examples from the textbook, and in the textbook they have solved these examples and they have got a quadratic equation. So under this example 1 you have two questions to solve. So I'm going to start from the beginning, that is how to generate the quadratic equations and how to find out the value of x. So let us start with the first one. John and Jivanti together have 45 marbles. Both of them lost 5 marbles each, and the product of the number of marbles they now have is 124. We would like to find out how many marbles they had to start with. So let us try to understand the question first by writing the given data. So here let us consider John and Jivanti, these two friends. They both together have 45 marbles. So let us see that let the number of marbles John has be equal to x. Then the number of marbles Jivanti has is 45 minus x, because both together have 45. So if for example John has 10, then Jivanti has 45 minus 10, that is 35 marbles. Now once we have got this, let us focus on the given statement. Both of them lost 5 marbles each, and the product of the number of marbles they now have is 124. So now since John lost 5 marbles, the new number of marbles John is going to have is equal to x minus 5, because he has lost 5 marbles. Similarly, now Jivanti is going to have 45 minus x and minus 5, because she also lost 5 marbles. So now Jivanti is going to have 45 minus 5, that is 40 minus x marbles. So when they lose those 5 marbles, the product of the number of marbles now is going to be 124. So here our equation is going to be, we are going to multiply the number of marbles John and Jivanti have, that is x minus 5 times 40 minus x, that is going to be equal to 124. Now in the next step we are going to expand these brackets. So we get x times 40 gives us 40x. Now x times negative x gives us negative x square. Negative 5 times 40 gives us negative 200. And negative 5 times negative x gives us positive 5x equal to 124. Now in the next step we have simplified this equation. So here we have got 40x plus 5x. They both are like terms. So we are going to add them up, giving us 45x minus x square minus 200 is equal to 124. Now in the next step we are going to take the left hand side terms on the right hand side, because here we had got x square as a negative term. So we are trying to get it as a positive term. So taking negative x square on the right hand side, we get positive x square positive 45x on the other side becomes negative 45x, negative 200 becomes positive 200, and 124 remains the same, equal to 0. Now simplifying this, we get x square minus 45x. Now 200 plus 124 gives us 324 is equal to 0. Now once we have got this equation, we have to start with the factorization. That is, we are going to multiply the coefficient of x square, which is 1 in this case, and multiply it with the constant. So 1 multiplied with 324 gives us 324. Now we have to find out two factors of 324 in such a way that its product should give us 324 and its addition or subtraction should give us negative 45. So one of the methods to find out the factors for bigger numbers like this is prime factorization. So let us start with the prime factorization of 324. I'm going to take the smallest prime number 2 over here. So 2 1 times is 2. So here we have a remainder 1. So we get 12. So 2 6 times is 12. And 2 2 times is 4. Now 162 again goes in the table of 2. So 2 8 times is 16 and 2 1 times is 2. Now 81 goes in the table of 3. So 3 2 times is 6. So we get a remainder of 2 here. So this becomes 21. So 3 7 times is 21. Make sure to take prime numbers over here. It would be easier. So now 27 again goes in the table of 3. So 3 9 times is 27. Now 3 3 times is 9. And finally we have 3 1 times is 3. Now we have got total of 6 factors. So we have to make 2 groups of these factors. So I'm going to group these 2 factors. That is 3 times 3 gives us 9. And I'm going to group these 4 factors together. I'm going to take their product. So 2 times 2 is 4 and 3 times 3 is 9. So 4 times 9 gives us 36. So the product of these 2 factors gives us 324. But here since we need negative 45, we have to take negative 36 and negative 9. Because when you multiply negative 36 with negative 9, you get positive 324. And when you add these 2 terms, you get negative 45. So these are going to be our 2 factors. So here we are going to write x square minus 45x can be written as minus 36x minus 9x plus 324 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms. We are going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. Now from the first group, we can see that x is a common factor. So we have taken it out and inside the bracket remains x minus 36. Now from the second group, negative 9 is a common factor. So we have taken negative 9 out and inside the bracket remains positive x. Positive sign becomes negative sign and 9 divides 324 giving us 36 equal to 0. Now we have got 2 factors over here. The first factor is x minus 36, which is a common factor. So we have taken it out and the second factor becomes x minus 9. Now the product of these 2 factors will be equal to 0. Now in the next step we are going to equate each of these factors equal to 0. So we get here x minus 9 equal to 0 or x minus 36 equal to 0. Now taking negative 9 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as 9. And similarly taking negative 36 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the second value of x as 36. So the number of marbles which they can have is 9 or 36. So this is our answer. Now the second question is, a cottage industry produces a certain number of toys in a day. The cost of production of each toy in rupees was found to be 55 minus the number of toys produced in a day. On a particular day, the total cost of production was rupees 750. We would like to find out the number of toys produced on that day. So let us try to understand this question by writing the data first. So here we have been given a cottage industry that produces a certain number of toys. So here we have written, let the number of toys produced by the cottage industry in a day be equal to x, because we do not know how many toys they are going to produce. Then they have given that the cost of production of each toy was found to be 55 minus the number of toys produced in a day. So here we have written cost of production of each toy will be equal to 55 minus, now the number of toys produced in a day we have considered here as x, So the cost of production of each toy becomes 55 minus X. On a particular day, the total cost of production was 750. So the total cost of producing X number of toys was 750. So using this given data, we have to form an equation. So here I have written X times 55 minus X equal to 750. Now here, to get this equation, you can use cross multiplication method. That is, to produce one toy, the cost of production was 55 minus X. Now total number of toys they are going to produce is X, and the total amount or total cost of production was 750. So on this side we have the cost, and on this side we have the number of toys. So once you get this relationship, we are going to use the cross multiplication. That is, X multiplies with 55 minus X. That is what we have written over here. And that will be equal to, now 1 multiplies with 750, giving us 750. Now once we have got this equation, we are going to expand this bracket, giving us X times 55 gives us 55X. X times negative X gives us negative X square is equal to 750. Now here X square is again negative. So we are going to take the left hand side terms on the right hand side. So that is going to give us positive X square. Positive 55X becomes negative 55X, and positive 750 stays the same, equal to 0. Now once we have got this equation, we are going to start with the factorization, where we are going to multiply the coefficient of X square with the constant. So 1 times 750 gives us 750. So again we have to find two factors of 750 in such a way that when you multiply them, you should get 750, and when you add them or subtract them, you should get negative 55. So here again I am going to use the prime factorization method, and since the number is ending with 0, you can use the prime factor 2 or 5. I am going to start with 5, it will be easier for division. So 5 1 times is 5. So 7 minus 5 we get a remainder 2. So we get 25 here, and 5 times 5 gives us 25, and 0 comes down. So we get 150. Now 150 again goes in the table of 5. That is 5 3 times is 15, and 0 comes down. Now 30 again goes in the table of 5. That is 5 6 times is 30. Now 6 goes in the table of 2 and 3. So I am going to take the table of 3. So 3 2 times is 6, and then we have finally 2 1 times is 2. So totally we have 5 factors over here. So we have to get two groups of the factors now. So one of the group you can make is 5 times 5. That will give you 25. And the second group you can make is 5 times 3 times 2. That is 5 times 6 also you can say. So 5 times 6 gives us 30. So the product of these two numbers gives us 750. Now here, since we need negative 55, we are going to take negative 25 and negative 30. So the addition of these two numbers gives us negative 55, and the product of these two numbers gives us positive 750. So let us write this equation in terms of the factors now. So here we have written X square. Now minus 55X splits up as negative 30X, negative 25X plus 750 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. From the first group, X is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and inside the bracket remains X minus 30. Now from the second group, we are going to take negative 25 out, and inside the bracket remains X minus 30 equal to 0. Now out of these two terms, X minus 30 is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and the second factor becomes X minus 25 equal to 0. Now equating each of the factors equal to 0, we get X minus 30 equal to 0 and X minus 25 equal to 0. Now taking negative 30 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of X as 30, or taking negative 25 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of X as 25. So the number of toys that were produced on that particular day are 30 or 25. So this is going to be our answer. Now the third question is, find two numbers whose sum is 27 and the product is 182. So let us consider the numbers to be as X, that will be our first number. So the second number is going to be 27 minus X, because the sum of both the numbers should be 27. So the second number we can take here is 27 minus x. Now once we have got both the numbers, it is given that the product of both the numbers is going to be 182. So we have to take the product of these two numbers. So here we have written x times 27 minus x will be equal to 182. Now we have to expand the bracket. So x times 27 gives us 27x and x times negative x gives us negative x square is equal to 182. Now since x square is negative here, we are going to take the left hand side terms on the right hand side. So negative x square becomes positive x square and positive 27x becomes negative 27x and 182 stays the same, equal to 0. Now factorization. So we are going to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant, that is 1 times 182 gives us 182. So now we have to find out the factors of 182. So let us start with the prime factorization because this is a big number again. So we are going to take the number as 2 because 182 is divisible by 2. So 2 9 times is 18 and 2 1 times is 2. Now 91 is divisible by 7. That is 7 1 times is 7 and we have a remainder 2 here giving us 21. So 7 times 3 gives us 21. Now 13 is a prime number, so it will divide itself giving us 13 1 times 13. So now we have got 3 factors over here, so we need to go for the grouping. We can group 2 and 7 together, that is 2 times 7 gives us 14 and the second group is going to have just one factor, that is 13. So here the product of 14 and 13 gives us 182, but we need a sum of negative 27. So we are going to take negative 14 and negative 13. So the product of these two numbers gives us positive 182 and when we add these two numbers we get negative 27. So let us write this equation in terms of its factors now. So the equation becomes x square minus 13x minus 14x plus 182 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. Now from the first group x is a common factor, so we have taken it out and inside the bracket remains x minus 13. Now from the second group negative 14 is a common factor, so inside the bracket remains x minus 13 equal to 0. Now x minus 13 is a common factor from these two terms, so we have taken it out and the second factor becomes x minus 14 equal to 0. Now equating each of the factor equal to 0, we get x minus 13 equal to 0 and x minus 14 equal to 0. Now taking negative 13 on the other side of equal to sign, we get x equal to 13 and similarly taking negative 14 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as 14. So here 13 or 14 are the two numbers which we need, whose sum is going to be 27 and whose product is going to be 182. So this is going to be our answer. Find two consecutive positive integers, sum of whose squares is 365. Now consecutive integers are the ones which are neighbors to each other. So for example, if I write a number 3, then the neighboring numbers to 3 are going to be 2 and 4. I have discussed in details about consecutive positive integers in exercise 4.1 of this chapter. So you can click on this link and check it out. So here let us consider that the first positive integer is x. So the second positive integer is going to be x plus 1, that is the neighboring number of x. So if x is 3, its neighboring number is going to be 3 plus 1, that is 4. Now here they have given that sum of whose squares, means we have to square each of these numbers. So here we have squared x and we have squared the second positive integer, that is x plus 1 the whole square, and then we have to take the sum of these two numbers and that is going to be equal to 365. Now we have to find out the value of x over here. So we have to expand this bracket x plus 1 the whole square, and to expand this we are going to make use of this algebraic identity, that is a plus b the whole square. Now this bracket expands as a square plus 2ab plus b square. So here in place of a we are going to take x and in place of b we are going to take 1. So here we get x square plus x plus 1 the whole square expands as x square plus 2 times x times 1 plus 1 square, so 1 square becomes 1 itself, is equal to 365. Now simplifying this, we get x square plus x square, these both are like terms, so adding them together we get 2x square plus 2 times x times 1 gives us 2x plus 1. Now taking 365 on the left hand side, we get negative 365 equal to 0. Now further simplifying this, we get 2x square plus 2x. Now plus 1 and minus 365 gives us minus 364 equal to 0. Now here each term is divisible by 2, that is 2x square can be divided by 2, 2x can be divided by 2, and negative 364 can be divided by 2, and 0 also can be divided by 2. So here our equation simplifies as x square plus x and minus 364 divided by 2 gives us minus 182 equal to, now 0 divided by 2 gives us 0 itself. Now once we have got this simplified equation, we have to start with the factorization, in which we have to multiply the coefficient of x square with the constant. So 1 with negative 182 gives us minus 182. So here, since 182 is a larger number, so we are going to prime factorize to find out the factors of 182 in such a way that when you multiply them, you should get minus 182, and when you add them or subtract them, you should get positive 1x, that is the middle term. So here let us start with the prime number 2 because it divides 182. So 2 9 times is 18, 2 1 times is 2. Now 91 goes in the table of 7. So 7 1 times is 7. Now we get a remainder of 2 giving us 21. So 7 times 3 is 21. Now 13 is a prime number, so it will divide itself. So here we have 13 and 1. Now since we have got 3 factors over here, we are going to group them into 2. So here we are going to group 2 and 7 together giving us 14, and the second group is going to be 13 itself. So it has only one factor. So here we are going to get 14 and 13. The product of these two should give us minus 182, and the addition or subtraction of these two should give us positive 1. So here we are going to take positive 14 and negative 13 because their product is going to give us minus 182, and when you subtract 13 from 14, you are going to get positive 1x. So let us write this equation in terms of its factors now. So here we get x square plus 14x minus 13x minus 182 is equal to 0. Now we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms together. Now from the first group, x is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and inside the bracket remains x plus 14. Now from the second group, negative 13 is a common factor, and inside the bracket remains x plus 14 equal to 0. Now from this equation, x plus 14 is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and the other factor is going to be x minus 13 equal to 0. Now equating each of the factors equal to 0, we get x minus 13 equal to 0 and x plus 14 equal to 0. Now taking negative 13 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as 13, or taking the value of positive 14 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as negative 14. But here in the question it was being mentioned that the numbers have to be positive integers. Since 14 is negative over here, we are going to discard this value of x, and we are going to consider only x equal to 13, which is a positive integer. So here our two numbers are going to be x equal to 13, this is going to be our first positive integer, and its consecutive integer, its neighboring number, is going to be x plus 1, that is 13 plus 1, giving us 14. So these are the two values of x. The altitude of a right triangle is 7 cm less than its base. If the hypotenuse is 13 cm, find the other two sides. So let us try to understand this question by drawing a rough figure first. So here in the question, a right angled triangle is being given. So here we have drawn a right angled triangle, and the hypotenuse of this triangle is given as 13. Now it has been mentioned that the altitude of this triangle is 7 cm less than its base. So if we consider this base to be as x, then the altitude or height of this triangle is going to be 7 cm less than the base. So here it's going to be x minus 7. So here we have written let the base be equal to x centimeter, then the altitude or the height of this triangle becomes x minus 7. Now here, since this is a right angled triangle, we are going to make use of Pythagoras theorem, which is the hypotenuse square is equal to the sum of the square of the rest two sides. So here we have written c square is equal to a square plus b square. Now c represents the hypotenuse. So here in this case it is going to be 13. So here we have written 13 square is equal to, now a we have taken as the base, so a square becomes x square plus, now b we have considered as the altitude, so it becomes x minus 7 the whole square. Now to proceed with, we have to expand this bracket, and to do that we have to make use of an algebraic identity, which is x minus y the whole square. Now this identity expands as x square minus 2xy plus y square. Now here in place of x we are going to take x, and in place of y we are going to take 7. So expanding this equation we get 13 square is 169 is equal to x square plus x square minus 2 times x times 7 plus 7 square. Now simplifying this equation we get 169 is equal to, now x square plus x square, they both are like terms, giving us 2x square minus 2 times x times 7 gives us 14x plus 7 square is 49. Now in the next step we have taken 169 on the right hand side. So the equation now becomes 2x square minus 14x plus 49, and positive 169 now becomes minus 169 equal to 0. Now further simplifying this we get 2x square minus 14x. Now 49 minus 169 gives us minus 120 equal to 0. Now in this equation all the terms are divisible by 2. So we are going to divide 2 by 2, 14 by 2 and minus 120 by 2 and 0 also by 2. So in the first term 2 divides itself, giving us 1x square. Now minus 14 over 2 gives us minus 7x, and minus 120 divided by 2 gives us minus 60 equal to, now 0 divided by 2 gives us 0 itself. Now we have to factorize this equation. So multiplying the coefficient of x square, that is 1, with negative 60, we get negative 60 itself. So we need to find out the factors of negative 60 in such a way that when you multiply them you should get negative 60, and when you add them or subtract them you should get negative 7. So one of the pairs you can consider over here is negative 12 and 5, because negative 12 times 5 gives you negative 60 and negative 12 plus 5 gives you negative 7. So let us write this equation in terms of its factors now. So here we have written x square minus 12x plus 5x minus 60 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms, that is we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. Now from the first group we can see that x is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and inside the bracket remains x minus 12. Now from the second group we are going to take positive 5 as a common factor, and inside the bracket remains x minus 12 equal to 0. Now x minus 12 is a common factor, so we have taken it out, and the second factor is going to be x plus 5 equal to 0. Now equating each of the factors equal to 0, we get x minus 12 equal to 0 and x plus 5 equal to 0. Now taking negative 12 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as positive 12, and taking positive 5 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as negative 5. Now since x represents the side length of a triangle, it cannot be negative, so we are going to discard negative 5. So the base length, that is x, is going to be 12 centimeter. So here we are going to write the base is x centimeter equal to 12 centimeter, and the altitude is equal to x minus 7, that is 12 minus 7, giving us 5 centimeter. So this is going to be our answer. A cottage industry produces a certain number of pottery articles in a day. It was observed on a particular day that the cost of production of each article in rupees was 3 more than twice the number of articles produced on that day. If the total cost of production on that day was rupees 90, find the number of articles produced and the cost of each article. So let us try to understand this question by writing the given data first. So an information about a cottage industry is given which makes some pottery articles every day. So here we do not know how many articles it produces in a day. So here we have written, let the number of articles produced each day be equal to X. Now it is given that on a particular day it was observed that the cost of production of every article was 3 more than twice the number of articles. So this becomes our second statement. So here we have written the cost required to make each article was equal to 3 more than. Remember that the word more represents addition. So wherever you see the keywords more, larger than or greater than, they all represent the addition operation. So here we are going to write 3 more than becomes 3 plus twice the number of articles. Twice means 2 times. So here we are going to write 2 times the number of articles, and the number of articles we have taken as X. So the expression for cost of production of every article becomes 3 plus 2x. Now the last piece of information they have given is, now the total cost of production of X articles on a particular day was rupees 90. So here we have written total cost of production of all the articles considered was equal to rupees 90. So now in this question we have to find out how many number of articles were produced or made each day, that is the value of X, and what was the cost of production of each article. So to generate the equation, let us make use of cross multiplication over here. So the cross multiplication or the relationship is between the number of articles and the cost of production. So here we have written number of articles and the cost. So the cost of production of each article, which means for one article, the cost of production was 3 plus 2x. And it is also given that the cost of production, that is total cost of production for X articles, was given as rupees 90. So here we are going to multiply X with 3 plus 2x, that is by using cross multiplication. So here we have written X times 3 plus 2x is equal to, now 1 multiplies with 90 giving us 90. So the equation generated over here is X times 3 plus 2x equal to 90. Now we are going to expand this bracket, that is X multiplies with 3 giving us 3x, and X multiplies with 2x giving us plus 2x square equal to 90. Now rearranging this equation and taking 90 on the left hand side, we get 2x square plus 3x and plus 90 becomes minus 90 equal to 0. Now we have to start with the factorization. So for the factorization, we are going to multiply the coefficient of x square, that is 2, with the constant, which is negative 90. So 2 times negative 90 gives us negative 180. Now we have to find out two factors of 180 in such a way that their product should give us negative 180 and their addition or subtraction should give us positive 3. So let us start with the prime factorization of 180. So 180 goes in the table of 2. So 2 9 times is 18 and 0 comes down. Now 90 goes in the table of 3. So we can start with 3. So 3 3 times is 9 and 0 comes down. Now 30 again goes in the table of 3. 3 10 times is 30. 10 goes in the table of 2. So 2 5 times is 10. And finally we have 5 1 times is 5. Now here we have got 5 factors. So we have to combine them into groups of 2 to get 2 factors of 180. So here let us group 2, 3 and 2 in group 1. Because 2 times 3 is 6 and 6 times 2 is 12. So we got our first factor. And let us keep 3 and 5 in second group. Because 3 times 5 gives us 15. Now addition or subtraction of these two should give us positive 3x. So let us keep 15 as positive 15 and 12 as negative 12. So when you add them you get positive 3x. And when you multiply them you get negative 180. So our two factors over here are positive 15 and negative 12. So let us write this equation in terms of its factors now. So here we have written 2x square. Now positive 3x is being split up into two factors, that is positive 15x minus 12x minus 90 equal to 0. Now we are going to group the terms. We are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. And from the first group we can see that only x is a common factor. So we have taken it out. And inside the bracket remains 2x plus 15. Now from the second group, negative 6 is a common factor because it divides negative 12 as well as negative 90. So inside the bracket we get 2x plus 15 equal to 0. Now here 2x plus 15 is a common factor from these two terms, so we have taken it out. So the second factor becomes x minus 6 equal to 0. Now we are going to equate each of these factors equal to 0, giving us x minus 6 equal to 0 and 2x plus 15 equal to 0. Now for x minus 6, we are going to take the negative 6 on the other side of equal to sign. So we get x equal to 6. Similarly, taking positive 15 on the other side of equal to sign, we get 2x equal to negative 15. And taking 2 on the other side of equal to sign, we get the value of x as negative 15 over 2. But here x represents the number of articles, so it cannot be a negative value. So we are going to discard this value of x and consider the value of x as 6. So the number of articles produced each day were 6. Now once we have got the value of x, let us find out the cost of production of each article. So here we are going to write the number of articles produced each day was equal to x equal to 6. So cost of production of each article was 3 plus 2x. So in place of x, we are going to replace its value. So we get 3 plus 2 times 6, or simplifying this, we get 3 plus 2 times 6 is 12. So 3 plus 12 gives us 15. So the cost of making one article was rupees 15. So this is going to be our answer. I hope you have understood all the steps and liked the video. And if you found this video useful, then check out this playlist where you'll find more examples of this kind. And if you're liking my videos, like, share and subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.